It's a 1968 MC-5A, 35 foot. The coach was originally, well, it was built in North Dakota, and it spent most of its service life as an inner city coach around Minneapolis. They did all the tours of the lakes and everything in the Minneapolis area. And then it was converted in the mid 80s uh, in Indiana. And it's been a motorhome ever since. Um, we're like the fourth owner of this coach. When we got it, the owner had died, and it had been sitting in the field for 5 years. Uh, was in very poor condition. Tires were rotten, engine smoked, clutch wasn't good in it. All the pipes were frozen and broken. The electrical system was faulty. Uh, didn't have any solar. Had an old antique uh, inverter in it. You could do very little with. Batteries were all shot, and so that's what we started with. Uh, we did a lot of work trying to shine the sides up and get that done. Replace all the things like the water heater, and the furnace needed to be rebuilt. Ductwork in it was all dusty and dirty. Uh, just stuff like that. But
What's
it's
the utility bay?
right here is the water, access to the water. So we have a portable compressor. It's a Makita that's a 4.0 CFM at 90 psi, and that's what we use for if we need to air up the coach, or we use it to clean air filters and stuff like that. I have three tanks, two tanks that are water tanks, total of 112 gallons of fresh water. Two tanks that are one black and one gray tank, and there's a 100-gallon capacity there. Um, I put in an outside shower, so when we put our awning out, we can hang a tarp, and when we're in the desert, we can shower. I put in a pressure tank because we have a wash machine, and it keeps a steady flow of water to the washing machine, no problem. Um, I added uh, gauges to the tanks so I can tell what the levels are, and installed all that. I have two water pumps, and the one's the main water pump, pumps for the coach. The other one is a water pump that I can use as my misters on the radiator, and it'll cool. If it's a really hot day and we're going up a hill pulling a load, I can cool the radiators off and keep this thing from overheating.
Tell us about your tank sensors.
Okay, the tank sensors were in the coach when I bought it, but they just weren't connected. They're strips of foil on the outside of the tanks, and they sense the level of the liquid inside. And I've got gauges up in the coach above the refrigerator that let me know what the level is. So it works pretty good. The black tank one is not as accurate as the other two, but it works fine. Now my water tanks, I have two valves on my water tanks, and I can either combine them or run one tank at a time. Uh, just so I don't run out of water. If I run out of water, I can switch and open another valve and get my other tank going. I use my water pump at times to fill my fresh tanks. So what I've got is a valve set up that I can open, hook it up to a hose like in a water tank, and open the valves on top of each of the tanks and pump water into the tanks to fill them. And we do that quite a bit in the desert because we park and we haul water to it. And I just use the pump that I've got.
And you don't have a gravity fill, so you have to use a
Yeah, we have to pump it in. So instead of having an auxiliary pump, I just hook it up, open the valves, and let it fill. And that's how that works.
nice.
Um, Yeah, we can look at the engine. Okay. It's a little bit dirty after 3,000 miles of going down the road, but it's a 8B71, and it's a fairly new rebuilt engine. Uh, doesn't have a lot of miles on it. They're good for, 500,000 before you do too much to them. Uh, and this coach is a 4-speed manual, and so it's kind of a bear to drive for the wife, but we get by.
Does she drive it?
She does drive it, yeah.
Nice.
And we pull a 99 Chevy Blazer behind it, and works really good for us to do that. We have a backup camera that we installed. We also have a little motion sensor light hung on the back here because in this RV park we've had some people sneaking around behind the coaches and stuff. So we turn the light on them. So yeah. So
Do we have some more utility bay over here?
we do. It's not. It might be locked up, but basically the valves for dumping are inside here, and it's an outside dump. I have a freshwater intake, so I can fill there, dump there. My exhaust for the generator is right there. I have a Onan 6.3 Onan propane powered generator, and it runs both air conditioners when needed. Um, have a I have a 50-gallon propane tank in this compartment here, and I also have extended stay hoses that I can use bottles. Uh, I could open that up. I have to get a screwdriver though. Okay, it's about a 50-gallon tank. It has um, the regulator that feeds the coach. Also has a shutoff valve, and we've got a auxiliary line that we connect to another bottle, and there's a valve on that. So when we're camped in the desert, we use uh, portable bottles so we don't use up all of our propane. And we can run the bottles back and forth to town to fill them. So what I did is I teed in the line and hooked up another hose with another regulator. And so I can save my tank fuel for running my generator. My generator runs off the liquid side of my propane. It's high pressure all the way back to the generator. So uh, that's how I do it.
So
And
you've got it basically teed in there.
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's clever.
yeah. And so, and the gauge on here, when we started this week, we were at just a little under 90%. And we've run our heater every day, our stove, the generator a little bit, and we've used about maybe 4% for this week of our fuel. So we're kind of frugal. We turn the water heater off when we don't need it, and it's an old 6.3 uh, propane generator, but it runs both air conditioners and our microwave and our convection oven. Anything else, it runs when our batteries get low. If we don't have any sun, it will run our inverter and charge. The charge or an inverter that'll charge 100 amps into our batteries. So that works for us.
That's your regulator there. Huh?
Yeah, yeah. And then for the black and gray tank, we use a macerator pump and just put a hose on it, and we can pump that up to 50 feet into a holding tank or into a sewer or whatever we need to. Uh, so we haul the poop also. Oh, in this bay, actually, I can open that bay and lift it. Okay, uh, I keep the toolbox in here and some hoses. I have two batteries I use for my coach, and these are like 300 amp hour batteries. They're lead carbon batteries from China, and they're sealed, and they're kind of a new thing. So,
You're gonna have to tell us about that. I've never heard of that.
well, I opted to use these rather than lithium because I can buy two of these for the cost of one lithium, and they're like three times as more powerful. But you can't use them all the way down. You can use them. You can use up to 66 to 70% of these batteries without hurting them, and you charge them just like an AGM, so they work fine. And I have a dual battery system. I can combine them, but I've got some flooded batteries in the front compartment that I use in case of emergency. I keep them both charged up with solar, and that's how we do it.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, lead carbon batteries.
How many amp hours are they?
Well, they're supposed to be 300 each, so I've got maybe 300 amps of usable battery here,
Okay.
300 amp hours. This compartment, originally these buses have uh, a bus heat system, which is a big blower system up there that runs off the radiators. And that's been taken out of this coach. So I have all that storage back up under the front here that I can use. I've had to rewire this a couple different times. And I left the wires exposed so I could figure out what they were and where they ran. And I still have a little bit fixing up to do, but I've changed a lot of stuff in the breaker panel. I put in a bunch of DC fuses on both sides here. I've got a Magnum 2000 watt inverter charger, and those things are really nice. They work really good. And I just use a 40 amp controller, MPPT solar controller, and we've got 680 watts of solar. We don't ever use that many, but I can charge up to 40 amps, and that's more than I need to keep things going because I don't have a full electric coach. I don't have the need for all of that. We learned how to use an outside kitchen. Uh, we cook on the barbecue. We cook with cast iron Dutch oven with briquettes. And unless the weather's really bad, we're outside. So that's what we do. This coach is piped with propane steel lines all the way through. Every appliance has a separate valve for turning it off. I can, like if something goes wrong with the refrigerator, I can shut the valve off and still run the rest of the coach. Everything's isolated. Um, that works good. When I rewired this, none of the fuses or wires were marked. I had to trace everything out. It took me days. There was hundreds of wires. I pulled probably, I don't know, 1,000 feet of wire out of this bus it didn't need. So it was overwired. Anyway, we got that. These are all interstate batteries from Costco. And the white residue is just the baking soda that I use to clean things with. These batteries are dated September of 2015, and have been in this coach. I've really abused these batteries, but you can check them almost any time after they've been sitting here, not being used, and they'll show almost 13 volts, so they're still good. To descale them, I just do an equalize on them, and it cooks them. That inverter will cook them at 15.5 and helps them keep them full of water. Uh, they're not. They lose a little power, when I'm running something heavy, but they'll run the heater all night long and cook breakfast in the morning. So that's all I need.
So you're saying you keep these disconnected from the other
I
ones?
can switch back and forth. I have a fuse here and a disconnect switch here. So I don't, if something happens where I need to combine them, I will, but very, very seldom ever have to do that. So
So when you're charging, are you charging both banks then? Or
not at the same time.
you charge them separately?
Yeah, I charge them separate. These I charge as flooded. Those I charge as AGMs. So, but the solar, and when you hook your solar up, you turn your solar off and you flip your switch to your battery so that your controller can sense what kind of batteries you got and it knows what to do with them. So that's what I do. I'll turn the solar off, flip these batteries on, give the solar controller a few minutes, turn it back on. I'll go up to the control, and it'll charge them to the voltage they're supposed to be charged to. Everything, not everything, but mostly it's all original stuff. The dash is all original. Maybe a couple gauges have been replaced, but all the original stuff still works. I put a tachometer in over there on the side next to my hula girl. We don't have any over-the-road air conditioning in this bus. We use a couple cooling fans. If it's really hot, we can run our generator and run our air conditioner to keep cool. We have it has Jake brakes, so we have a switch for that. Most all the stuff is pretty straightforward. It's got a solenoid reverse, so you have to stick in the clutch, flip the solenoid, and pull it into second gear to back up. Pretty common with these old Spicer 4-speeds. It has a fast idle, so when you start it, it'll rev up to 700 or 800 RPM and just cook away to keep it from slobbering up. There's a leveling system down on the bottom side of the dash there. I have individual controls for each airbag, so I can adjust the level of the bus when we park. And next to that little red knob is a air lock for the door. So you flip that up and the door's locked while you've got air. And that's pretty, we took the hand out for the hand control out for opening and closing the door. Pretty easy to get something go wrong and get stuck and locked out of your bus. So we just took that off so it wouldn't lock us out. And that's about it for the most part. Used to have a jackknife couch in here. We took it out for two lounge chairs, recliners. It's a double recliner, so we don't need the extra bed. Our dinette will fold down into a bed if we ever have a kid stay with us. So the ceiling's all original material, original.
Oh, that looks great. I like that.
Stainless stripes.
Huh. Everybody wonders what to do about their ceiling, and this looks great.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Now this coach is a little bit more confined because it has all of these cupboards on both sides. It's great storage, but it does make you feel a little bit more boxed in.
We have that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love them. I love them. It doesn't bother me a bit. Up front here, we've got a backup camera located right under there. And these are the Ronson aircraft visors. They help on the bright days when you're going down the road.
And of course, cowboy hat storage.
Yeah. Cowboy hat storage up there. And we don't have an elaborate sound system in here. We've got a little soundbar thing and a little tiny TV. That's all we watch is a little TV.
Oh.
And
well, it is tiny.
yeah, it's 19 inch. And
That's great.
It was a little over $100, you know, so at Walmart. So
It doesn't take up a bunch of room.
no, we don't have to worry about storing it or flipping it down.
You've got the rope light.
Yeah,
I have that.
Little rope lights on both sides. We've got other lights. All our lights are LEDs now. So, I mean, you can leave the lights on all night long and it doesn't even affect your batteries. We have a hand pump we use for drinking water. This little pump is, see if I can get it to work.
Is that coming out of the 5-gallon jug down below?
There's a 5-gallon jug down below.
That's great.
That's clean drinking water.
Yeah, I like that.
Drinking water. So I leave
That's a good idea.
a voltmeter in my receptacle so I can keep an eye on what the voltage is, just on my on that. We had trouble finding places to put speakers, so we threw one in here.
Behind a mesh.
Yeah, she put a screen in there, took that out.
Nice.
Down here. This is an old 1980, like 84, Montgomery Ward microwave convection oven.
Oh, convection, nice.
And it's kind of a monster, but you know, we don't have any other oven, and that's what we use.
That's a good way to save space.
Yeah, and you got to run the generator to do it. It's got a blower in there, so it takes all the heat away and blows it down into the bays. And in wintertime works great, keeps everything warm.
Oh, ducted into the bay. That's interesting.
Yeah. Huh. Now, and these lights, these were fluorescent light bulbs, and I took the fluorescents, disconnected those, and put LED strips in there. So we've got LED lighting there. And the stovetop was just trashed. We found this one. A guy had it for sale. It came out of a trailer, and it was new. It's an Atwood, and so we bought it, and it works good. There's nothing fancy. We've got fantastic fans that open and close with the heat and the rain. They've been in here forever.
Is this a shade?
That's a shade. She pulls that over to keep the heat out. Well, this cabinet, we just monitor a little bit of the solar, so you can tell what's coming in. You can tell what's working. Like right now, there's 297 watts coming in, charging the batteries, and over here on the inverter side is 13.3. It's early in the morning. We're just now getting our solar.
Why is the voltage so high on that? 17.
That's coming in, yeah. Those panels, they're 12-volt panels, but they always run in the sunlight like 21 volts, and the inverter just changes that to 12. So we'll be charging it. I'll show you 13.2.
Okay.
That's the battery voltage now. This is the tank monitor thing. It shows your batteries. It shows them as full. Fresh water, half. Gray tank, half. Black tank, half. So.
And the strips on your tank, are they provided by this same company, Accurate Monitor Systems?
They are, yeah. This is an old system.
Well, those strips that go outside the tank are better than the probes that go through the tank.
Yeah, they don't corrode.
Right, and they're not going to get clogged up with stuff. Most people's tank sensors, mine included, don't work. Actually, the only ones I have that work are the Fresh.
Mm-hmm.
And the strips that go outside the tank are more reliable, but you have to have a plastic tank to be able to use those, and I have a metal tank.
And you got to tweak them. Each one of these has an adjustment on it, and you have to fill it to certain levels. Like you start with a half a tank, and then adjust your thing, and go to 3/4 of a tank, and adjust your thing. I tinkered with this for over a week trying to get the adjustments right, but I did get it right. They're pretty good.
And obviously propane fridge.
Yeah, propane or electric.
12 volt?
No,
120 volt as well. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I guess the
looks like you got a side bath down here.
Yeah, this is the shower, and you can see there's a dome above the shower for daylight. So a pretty tall person can stand in there and shower. We've got a
Natural light.
oxygenetics shower head, which is really a saver.
Helpful. Yeah. Fantastic fan.
Yeah. And a ceramic toilet. And, when you go down the road and you hear your toilet lid fall.
Yeah.
Well, this one here is let me do this.
It's got the slow close or something.
It's
Oh, nice. I've got that at home. That's deluxe there.
You can't even hear it close.
I didn't even know Dometic made those. That's cool. I didn't think that was an option on RVs.
We bought that over at the tent last year.
I like that.
Yeah. But
plenty of room.
Yeah. Oh, and the other thing is,
you took the door off, huh?
Yeah, I was working on it. We had
don't need it just for the two of you. Huh?
No, we really don't. But we do have that closet there that'll swing over and give us privacy. Okay, that one along the hook and swing over.
Oh, that's clever.
That's our closet with our washing machine and stuff.
It gives me an idea for my coach.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. And this is a California King. It's a little bit of a problem to make, but she's pretty agile. She jumps in there and makes the bed, and the whole back end there is
storage.
Storage for clothes and stuff like that. And we have all that kind of stuff. They did a good job when they built this with the oak, so it was professionally done. It wasn't a home-built one. It was professionally done.
It's an unusually large bed to have in a bus.
It is.
But a king bed, you guys are sleeping comfortably back here.
Oh, yeah, we are. That's
Oh, very nice.
The wash machine that we have is a washer-dryer combo thing, okay? And it's got like a supersonic spin cycle.
Yeah.
And I mean, when that thing gets done spinning, you can't get a drop of water out of that clothes. And she hangs them up on the line out in the desert. But it takes about 20 gallons per cycle, per load. So, if you run 2 loads of laundry, you're burning up 30 to 40 gallons of water.
Is that hiding in that closet over there?
Yeah. And that's okay if you're parked in an RV park, but if you have to haul water, then
that's a big deal.
Well, it'll take 2 loads of laundry per week will take 40 gallons. We have a 100-gallon capacity, so we're getting water a little more often than we normally would.
But you're not going into town and spending $8 to do a load of laundry.
No,
so, yeah.
No, we're not spending any money to do our laundry.
And you're hanging out here instead of hanging out at the laundromat.
Yeah. And like she walks 5 miles every other day. So she takes off on her hike, throws the thing in gear. I'm putting around here doing stuff. I make sure that wash machine runs fine. And she gets back. Oh, maybe if we need water, I'll go get water once a week. We have a big tank that we haul over with a trailer and fill it there and pump it into here.
So you told me the story about how you bought this bus and had to take it home and some challenges there, and you've done a lot of work to it to bring it up to snuff over the years. Anything you want to tell us about that story?
Well, yeah, it was 200 miles from our home. We went to get it up in Kalispell, Montana. Well, it wasn't Kalispell, it was actually over at Thompson Falls. So we bought the bus and brought it home. Before I got 6 miles down the road, the smell inside this bus was overwhelming. I had to pull over at the first gas station, stop, and she was following me. And we went in and we got soap and we got ice and we packed it down down the toilet hole. And there was a wash machine vent that was broken open. And the gray tank and the black tank were just coming up in here. And I couldn't even breathe. It was bad. So we got all that squared away and ventilated things and stuff. Then the engine, they had been using the wrong oil in it, and so it was consuming a lot of oil and it was smoking a lot. And the tanks, the fuel tank was old fuel, so we had to put a bunch of conditioner and stuff like that in. We got it home and started working on it. We went, adjusted the rack on the thing and put some fresh fuel in it, changed the oil, and did a whole bunch of stuff like that to get it up in usable condition. So we were lucky enough to find a bus for sale that had all the seats in it, had a rebuilt engine, had good tires on it. We were able to buy that bus and for a reasonable price, bring it home and take all the good stuff out of that bus mechanically and transfer it to this bus. I still have the parts bus, so I've got lots of parts left. And this has got the engine out of the other bus. This has got the transmission out of the other bus. It's got a new clutch. Brakes on this thing are really good. We had a little leak in our drop box. We pulled that out in the desert, and my two friends graciously came over and rescued me. We took the drop box out, and we fixed the seal in it, put it back in, resealed the whole thing, put it back in there, changed out the drive shaft. I had an extra drive shaft brought down from off the parts bus. The guy was coming down, and so we put that in it and was able to get the coach up and running again so we can go to this rally.
Wow.
So that's how we did it.
Owning a bus and converting a bus is a lot of work. It's not all just sunshine and
No, and if you can find, my advice for anybody that's going to have a bus is find a mechanic that's willing to work on your bus, a shop that's knowledgeable on whatever stuff you have in your bus as far as drivetrain and stuff, and treat them right, and they'll be able to keep you running. Otherwise, it's a long process of learning how to do everything and having the right equipment, the right shop, right setup, just like anything. These old coaches, there's lots of parts around. You just got to know who to talk to and where to look. So, like with this one, I've got enough parts to keep this thing going for a long time. And so that's kind of our intent. We live in the bus. We have a home in Montana, and we're in the process of maybe going full-time in this bus. And so we'll do some changes so that we can go maybe a little longer trips and stuff like that. I'd like to change it to an automatic so she can drive it a little easier.
Yeah.
That would help. But a 35-footer, boy, you can get in and out of driveways and in camping spots and stuff where if you got a 40 or 45 foot, you're going to stay on the road. You're not going to go where I can take this bus.
Right.
You know.
I like the 35 foot as well.
Yeah. Where we're camped out on the desert, there's a sharp curve and a gully you got to go through, and these three buses go right through there. No problem. Walter came in pulling his car,
Yeah, 40, 45 foot bus is going to get high centered or
They're
stuck.
not going
in
to
there.
make it. Yeah. You got to be careful, stuff like that. But yeah.
Well, I appreciate the tour. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for giving me the time to explain everything.